years ago, you guys had that too.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I call this meeting to order, and please rise to the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'll have to excuse us, everybody, today. Our sound system is going through an upgrade, so we will be talking loudly. There are no microphones, unfortunately, so please forgive us if sometimes you can't hear us. All right, roll call. Yeah, thank you.
Councilmember Wood.
Here.
Councilmember Conrad Wilberding.
Here.
Councilmember Ritchie.
Here.
Mayor Darrow.
Here.
Councilmember Donovan.
Here.
Councilmember Zeroka.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Galulu.
Yes. Item 3, reading and consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting held October 17th, 2022. Any comments on minutes? Seeing none, they are approved as submitted. I will entertain a motion for us to adjourn as the city council and to convene as the board of zoning appeals. Support. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, Board of Zoning Appeals, consideration of request for approval of a dimensional variance to permit an accessory structure that exceeds 15 feet in height at 336 Ridge Road. Is the applicant here? Please stand up and approach the podium and give us your name and address again.
Hello, my name is Matt Badrack, design professional for the project, also homeowner. Heather Badrack, homeowner as well, 336 Ridge Road. We're here before you today. Actually, it's exciting because we wanted to do this project since we bought the house. The garage wasn't in the budget at that time, and now we finally come to the point where we can do the garage. So 18 years later, we're ready for a garage. So excited. So we're here today because the garage, the accessory building, very rules here in the farms. It's 15 feet to the max height, to the peak of the roof. That's a little unusual around some of the other points here, where they allow 15 feet to the midpoint of the roof. So usually the peak of the roof can be a little higher. So it's a little different here. So we're here because we want to do to work out the house. I want to be able to, even though I have employees, they are remote contract employees. One lives in Maryland, the other lives in Metamora. They don't come to the house. But I want a space for myself, which I have in the house right now. But I need a little more room. And we also want to have some space for my son to practice his instruments up there. He's a guitar player, so he's got many instruments. So it gives him some room to spread without, it all being in his bedroom or in our tight basement. So we're looking for a variance. So the max height of the roof is 20 feet. So the variance is 7 feet, I'm sorry, 5 feet from the 15-foot rule. We are currently the garage that sits there is 13'6". It sits 28 inches from the fence. We're moving the fence over, moving the garage over. So it's 4 feet away from the property line. Accessory buildings are only required to be 3 feet. We're moving at 4 feet. The garage is essentially the same width, it's about 20 feet. It's 40 feet deep, so we can park 2 cars end to end. On the back side, we'll have the back of the garage is part storage, and then where we're putting the third car in there, we'll also have a automobile lift, as my son is a car enthusiast and will be repairing his car often because it's an old car, so he's got to fix it. So that's the idea with the plan. Upstairs is just an open office space. I have a stairway that goes up there. I do have a half bath, just so that for me, when I don't have to go back into the house and weather in winter. And if I have the occasional client stop by, I don't have to have them go through the house. So it's just a half bath, water closet, and a sink. We have about 412 square feet of usable space up there, although some of it is carved out of the roof. So ceiling heights are 7 feet, 7'6" at the max. So I really played with the floor system to get it as shallow as I could. So they're only 9.5-inch joists to span a 20-foot span. So I could double them up and 12 inches on center. So I'm doing what I can structurally to bring this down a little bit more. And then also carving the rest of the space out of the roof and then adding the dormers on either side, so that we can fix up some floor area that is higher than the sloping walls at 5 foot. So the dormer areas are 7'6", the sloping areas will be 5 foot high walls. So not carving a ton of space out of there, but enough for me to do what I need to do. We've got my office space and then also some space for my son for his instruments.
And I work from home too, so it's not perfect.
So we chose this style here because the steep pitch matches what we have on our main house. So we have 2 gables on the front of the house that are 12 pitches. So that's what we've done here with the main roof. And then the dormers are a shallower pitch. So we can get our height that we need there.
Okay, anything else to add?
We don't plan to rent this out. It's not a Airbnb or Vrbo. No intention for anything like that. It's not at all on the radar. So just want to make that clear.
How about living for your son?
No, not gonna happen.
All right, any questions from council? I'm sorry, zoning board of appeals. Love, oh, sorry, Beth, go ahead. Go ahead, Beth.
Will this addition obstruct any of your neighbors' views from anywhere?
The garage right now, like I said, is 13.6. It's a 7/12 pitch on the existing garage. It's a little closer to the property line. For example, just to give you some dimensional ideas here. So the bottom of our overhang right now is 8'3". Sorry, the existing overhang of our current garage is 8 foot. This one's going to be 8'3". Their fence on the side yard is actually 88 inches high on our property line. So there's about 13 inches of space from the top of their wood fence there to the bottom of our eaves. That they'll see, building on first floor, and it's mostly, a pitched roof for the rest of it. Whether it was a 7/12 or a 12/12 pitch, obviously the difference is about 5 feet difference. So, I mean, yeah, there is some obstruction. It's a garage, so there's some obstruction, whether I, choose to do the dormers on the side or not. I really need to want the space for, office and band space. So it's not inside the house. So, and we can't do that within a 15-foot peak.
And I noticed that you had, approval from some letters from many of your neighbors. Do you have the neighbor in the back or the neighbor on both sides?
Neighbor on the north side, so the side that this is facing, did approve that. He supported our decision to do this. The neighbor on the other side, I've been in conversation with them for the past couple of days. I did have a long conversation with them today. They were just concerned about the dormer on their side of the property there. I do need it to get, space up there. If I don't have the dormer on that side, it would be, if you mind flipping images there to the last images there. That's,
So that dormer on the right there.
Yeah.
that one right there. So that dormer, I mean, right now there's a tree there. It's massive. It's a 60-inch diameter tree, 100-some-year-old maple. I know they were concerned about keeping the tree. Its branches had fallen over years, and unfortunately missed our help, the garage. What I did in the garage, do something with it, but I would have moved this process along a little bit quicker. So, there's a number of branches that have fallen. We've had Burns Landscaping is very familiar with the property. They're familiar with the tree. They understand the previous owner, and us. We had decided we were going to take the tree down when we were able to finally get around to this tearing out the garage so they can get in there and take the tree down with no obstructions in the way. So that was one of the concerns in talking with Burns today. Their concern is that we may be hitting some of the root structure and may cause the tree to weaken, especially with these high winds that we've had lately. So I think we're both in agreement on that. Both neighbors in agreement that the tree could come down. It's going to be our cost to take it down. and then the second sticking point was just having this dormer, looking onto their property. These windows that are there, 24-inch high windows, they're at 80 inches high, so 6 foot 8 high. They're 24-inch windows, so the sill is at 4.8. There's actually a frame and sash around the window to make it 5.2. So 5.2 is like here, so it's not easy to see out those windows into the yard, especially if they have a desk in front of it. We're not going to see out those windows, but we took I listened to them, understand their concerns, and there may be an opportunity for us to push that dormer back, like towards the peak, maybe a foot, 2 feet, so that it's not as large looking. So we're sort of working to a solution there that would be beneficial to them. So they're not just seeing this. It's 15'6" at the bottom of the overhang of the second floor there. Just to give you some dimension. So that would still be 15'6", but then it'd be pushed back 2 feet. So I've got 7 feet of exposed wall there. It will now be 5 feet exposed. So you see more rough. It won't be as close to the property line. So those are some considerations we take with the neighbor directly next door.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Lev.
Yes, sir. Hi, thanks a lot for coming. Question, or let me clarify your practical difficulty as you've explained it here on page letter D of the application, which I suppose is not originated. You indicate that you need more space for your offices. You need more room. You want more room for the band equipment, right?
Yes.
I'm looking for a better definition of a practical difficulty. Here's my problem with this all is that, I appreciate you're wanting a bigger garage. I think a lot of people come to us with wants and needs. Unfortunately, this group does not grant variances based on needs. We grant them based on something unique, something that's unusual about your property. If your property was shaped like a pie or irregularly like this, a dimensional variance would be in order. If you had a slope, if you had a big oak tree that you didn't want to kill and everybody wants to keep the trees, that's a unique practical difficulty that we could understand. I don't get your practical difficulty here, and without a practical difficulty, I'm not interested in giving variances. So could you explain a little bit more about what's unique or what is uncommon, or what kind of a problem are you solving other than wanting, which I think everybody in this room would just love to have a bigger house or a bigger garage. Could you please help me understand your practical difficulty?
Sure. Well, clearly we make the garage wider to accommodate this, but we don't want to ruin our view out directly to our yard, not to neighbors' properties, but just directly out our back. So that's the way the garage has been positioned this way. So it's not, it's a 20-foot wide garage. It's not a normal width of garage that you would build nowadays. They're usually 22 to 24 feet. So we're keeping it narrow, which also, would, at this roof pitch that matches our house, would make it even taller because it would be 4 feet wider, 2 feet higher. So we've taken that into consideration. There's also a number of examples within the neighborhood of garages that have similar setups like this. 2 of them in particular, 166 Hillcrest Lane has similar setup. They have 2 dormers that come out, 2 smaller dormers that come out. Same sort of setup, their garage is rotated to their property, so it's not a long dimension like ours. It's perpendicular. It's perpendicular. It's parallel to the road, so their entrance is on the shallower part of the garage. And there's another one at 332 and 347 Hillcrest that both have usable spaces, and I would argue they're probably maybe a foot to 2 higher because their exterior walls are up higher where our roof line comes down to the floor line. I understand that the practical difficulty typically with a site that is, like you said, a dimensional variance. This is a height, so it's not width, depth, it's the height that we're looking
But
at.
you did, I thought I heard you mention, there is an alternative here. You could have a wider garage, right, to fit 3 cars. could fit storage area or a storage space there, right? So you could, instead of building higher to eliminate any kind of a variance, it seems to me when I looked at your lot, it was wide enough that you could have a wider garage and not impact any of your side yard setbacks. So wouldn't that be a good alternative?
Like I said, 20 feet here, 4 feet off the property line. That's a view directly down. I don't know if I've got that on there. It's a view that's directly down the walkway out the yard. Our yard is 20 feet wide. Sorry, our yard is 50 feet wide. We're 20 feet with the garage, 4 feet with the side yard setback. So we're leaving 26 feet of lot left. And that preserves our view on our back door and our yard space. Going any further to accommodate that, and it's difficult to get storage in even a 15-foot high roof, because, you know, if you do an 8, and I've only got 8-foot ceilings in this garage. Typically, you want to go higher for bigger cars, for taller cars. And I've done this a number of times with other garages. We've had to do structural ridge beams and carve everything out of the ceiling to just gain that extra space there. So, I mean, it's a storage loft like probably everybody in the city is. So that's one of the issues. Also, I mean, it's important to note our 4-foot dimension off the property line. If we're able to attach our main residence to this accessory building in a manner that is deemed fully attached, whether it's all the walls, breezeway or something like that, then this wouldn't be before you at all, because then we have a side yard of 6 feet on one side, 4 feet on the other side. And then it's part of the principal residence, which doesn't have any rules about building heights. It'd be part of the residence.
But it's accessory right now. It's not.
It's accessory now, right? I've done some renderings that have some roof connections to it, and I'm not sure that's going to be within the budget.
One last question.
Yep.
The issue of the half bath came up. I'm not in favor of allowing a half bath. In the past, the policy of this council has been that we don't allow water, no plumbing. The reason is, as what you had just explained, we don't want people to be renting. We don't want to have people have a second dwelling unit on one property, which, you know, as soon as you build a half bath, it seems to me a good plumber could go ahead and put in a shower quite easily. So I'm interested in adding that as a condition to the motion, that there be no water. What is your feeling on that?
I disagree. We have I plan on putting a service sink within the garage so that my son can clean up in the garage after he's done working on his car. So we have a service sink in there so he can clean up and not drag all his grease and dirt into the house.
That would be on the first floor?
Yeah, main floor, yeah.
So it's a half bath, not a service sink.
We have a service sink on the main floor and a half bath on the second.
Okay.
And the half bath is small, so
You know, I want to make it clear that I'm not going to say yes if there's going to be a half bath.
I'm fine with there being a motion to say that this is never going to be a unit in perpetuity. It's not, like I said, it's not our goal. This is not going to be a rental.
Yes, I have actually 3 questions.
Okay.
And one you basically touched on. You have clients, both of you have clients that come to the house?
She doesn't.
Okay,
I rarely have clients, but it's nice to have a space that I can, you know, have them look over a set of drawings.
right.
Mhm.
So have you ever had any concerns about clients coming inside of your home?
Really have people in houses.
Right, but when I'm dealing with transactions,
Yes.
I'm concerned with the house.
And this would give you more space, open space to
Yes.
lay out plans and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I don't have that in my current office. I don't have a place to lay out.
Okay, and actually, that was the second question too. Now, if you could talk a little bit about whether your son will be playing instruments or band, because I've heard you say both, so. And with that question, or explanation, do you believe that area needs to be soundproof?
Well, we plan on putting insulation in it, because we're gonna heat and cool it, so we're gonna have insulation in the walls, and there's, you know, building codes for, you know, minimum insulation, so It's gonna be more than our current house has, because I think I got thicker walls over there. But, we're definitely putting insulation, ceiling walls, rafters everywhere. As the band, music instrument, it could grow into something for him. He's 20 years old. I don't know how much longer he's gonna be at home. He's sort of in college, so. But I want to leave it open if he's got some friends, because, I mean, he likes playing, he likes playing with other people, so.
But he's not in a, like an official band.
No, he's not
Right.
in a band.
And I went to the bed, so there's no bathroom.
Okay.
Right.
So I would like to have a condition, that it be adequately sounded, and that you, work that out with, Matt. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm in the process of actually building a shed office in my backyard, so I understand a lot of the concerns and issues that you're going through. Did you consider that as an option in this case? I mean, obviously, in my case, I'm a little jealous of the idea of having a half bath, because going back and forth to my house is in winter is gonna be a little rough, but I'm gonna deal with it. But, what's your, did you consider that as an option? Because that would eliminate the even need because of the zoning board, as long as you fit within certain requirements, like under.
Right, well,
200
certainly the other alternative is we could build beyond the garage.
Yeah.
And make it bigger, then we're pushing accessory building sizes. I think, if we had a friend in California that did this, they had met with a big time, metro sheds before the containers, there were the pre-built offices. It's technically another accessory building. You only allow one accessory building on the site. So that's why I didn't explore that any further. I mean, there are, I think.
Just say, actually, you can, yeah.
They
It's
can't
more
have
about, it's more
bigger.
about the percentage of it.
Yeah, you can have more than one
You have more than one.
Okay.
accessory.
Okay.
Because I got nervous there when you said.
Right.
But I talked with you, so
Council members always follow the rules.
we follow it strictly.
Anything else, Tom?
No, that's it.
All right, so I'm gonna follow up on Councilwoman Ron's question here. So I am in a band. My neighbors hated me since I've been a drummer since like third grade. And I looked at issues when I was doing our basement in our house. And so there's loaded vinyl that you can put between the drywall and the joists. There's Roxol. That's a much thicker insulation to soundproof, better than just regular fiberglass insulation. So I'd be interested in you looking at those options, and I would leave it to the administration to see what's, my block growing up in 13 houses, we have 3 drummers. And even from the basement and the cinder block walls, our neighbors heard us, particularly when 2 of the 3 of us would have band practice going on in the middle of the afternoon. So while it wasn't at night, because people wanted to sleep, we definitely could be heard around the neighborhood. So I would recommend something a little more adequate than just Pink Panther insulation. The second thing is, back to a couple of questions here, is why wouldn't you just build a 20 by 20 foot office on the first floor behind the garage rather than on the second floor? You have 59 feet back to your lot line from the back of the garage as it exists right now. So even if you went another 20 feet long and just extended that walkway, you could have a 20 by 400 square foot, approximately what you're doing upstairs, office that's behind the garage. And you would still be 4 feet off the fence. You'd still leave 40 feet of green space between the back of the garage and your fence line, and you wouldn't ruin the view out of the back of your house because it wouldn't be width, it would be length. So you would be able to bring the height back down, and I think the lot has, in terms of coverage, that would be plenty of percentage, would not be
Yeah.
400 feet, it would still be within the lot coverage restrictions.
I did rough calculations and they have, based on the footprint of the proposed garage and the existing house, they have enough space for another 1,500 square feet of footprint on their lot without exceeding the lot coverage.
So you could, instead of having a small lawn garage, lawn equipment garage door on the back, you could put it off the side where the barn doors are. Because you move those barn doors for entrance, somewhere else. So anyways, to me, that you'd be able to do that, you get the 20 feet on the first floor, you wouldn't have to worry about the second floor, and you do a roof line that would be consistent with the rest of the neighborhood, with our restrictions. You know, back to Mr. Wood's question is, I'm not quite sure what the practical difficulty is of putting the second floor is when you could do a first floor. I mean, I'm normally, listen, property rights, I get it, I'm all for it, and I really like to let our residents do as much of their property as possible, within the confines of our, you know, our ordinances. But I think there's a clear option here that you might not like it, but it definitely takes the second floor, puts it on the first floor. And you would have to have the variance for the 5 feet.
Right,
This is the way I see
understand.
it.
Also, if I connected this, I wouldn't have to have variance either.
But you're not. If you want to wait to figure out how to connect it, like I connected mine,
No.
when I did my renovation, because mine was a breezeway and I connected.
Right, but also we're looking at a 60-foot long building now, and that's a 60-foot long roof too. So I think that's more detrimental to the neighbor's view out the back than a 40-foot long garage, because the roof extends further. So that's my, and from our view too, with that, and I didn't send renderings that I did more recently, that showed, you know, the roof cut, you know, the covering and view out of that. But it sort of clips off some of our view. We end up being 39 feet from the property line, because it's on an angle actually. The back property line is on an angle, so it may not be the full 40 feet clear to the back there, but a 60-foot long building. You know, it's another 60-foot of foundation and wall space. It's clearly less expensive to go up than to continue outward. And it looks more, you know, looks more like the house with this picture of.
So would the practical difficulty be that an alternative structure would be cost prohibitive? No. Nope. That doesn't fit the requirements. Cost is, I know.
Understood.
But so it's really, what would be more detrimental to the neighbors, 5 feet too tall or 20 feet more rough?
I think that's clear, but
What's
Because it's-
clear?
I think 5 feet of a higher roof is less bad than 20 feet of
I
additional.
agree.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
But what I would also say is, when we're talking about the issue of practical difficulty here, like, I'm just thinking about my own project in this set. I would have loved to do this, but part of the reason why we didn't was because I knew I would have to come to the zoning board of appeals with this kind of appeal. And I didn't want to do that, and I didn't have practical difficulty, or I had another way to deal with it. So that's my issue.
All right, well, we can debate this when there's a motion before we hear this discussion. So let me just do this in order. So any other further questions from council? Okay, if not, we have a question?
I just have a comment, and I agree with Louis. I know this project means a lot to you. You know, anytime a homeowner has a dream, it means a lot to them. So thank you for your patience while we brainstorm as council openly, so that, in the words of Louis, we can get you where you need to be, if we can get you where you need to be.
All right, with that comment, anybody in the public like to speak on this agenda item? Anybody? All right, with that, public comment is closed, so, planning commission, zoning board, let's, 5 votes, yes. To remind you, you need 5 votes, to pass this, that's a zoning board of appeals. So back to, I guess, what we were discussing here. I'll start this, John, John, we started that, answer. John, do you have any comments, John? I don't. Okay, thank you. Neil?
No,
I'm complete, thank you.
Anything additional?
Me or Beth?
Left.
I can't hear you. We don't
Sorry,
have a mic.
loud.
Listen, I don't buy, you know, the practical difficulty. I'm the worst guy on in this group about practical difficulties. I would.
Admitting you have a problem is the first step to cure.
I have a problem with practical. I mean, I think it's important. You know, anybody can come to us and say, look, I want a better house there, and then we have chaos. And what we need to have is some sort of a practical difficulty, and I stick to To the extent that you do, I think it's self-created. This thing is a 30% extent of a variance. Alternatives exist, as Louis has pointed out here, and others. There's nothing unique about the project, so I'm going to say no.
I'm gonna take a little bit of a different, having driven by there and knowing some people that are in your immediate area that live by you, and knowing that you have letters of support from many of these people. I looked at it that the practical variance in my short tenure on this board, which is 3 years, is, it's serious, but it has a wide parameter in my experience. And so I think that because I would look at it from looking at your house in the back and the neighboring houses. I think that it would have more of an appeal for your plan if you could just lessen maybe the dormers than having the Louis plan. So I'm inclined to vote for it.
All I want to say is the backyard is a church parking lot, and there's only 2 neighbors. Very important.
Agreed. All right, well, I need a motion of some sort. All right, so is anybody willing to make some that we can then discuss?
I will.
Sure.
Try.
Fire away.
I try. With those help.
Wait, let me ask one question.
Yeah.
So on the dormers facing the neighbors, albeit that they're at a higher level, would you agree to, I know you're trying to get some sunlight in there because we're on from both sides. Would you agree to put some sort of, smoked glass or like pebbled glass or whatever to allow sunlight to still come in, but to assuage the neighbor's concern that you're looking down upon their backyard? So even though you don't intend to, if the real goal is just to let some sunlight in, would you do something on the bottom half at least? Because I know they're higher up, but at least give them another foot or two of some tempered glass or some pebbled glass or whatever. So it's not,
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Something we can explore. It's not easy to see out of there. We have these same windows on our house, looking into our other, on the side, on the main house, on our second floor, looking in, same situation. We can't see that.
They're too high.
It's too high to actually walk up to and put your eyes on them.
Because those are on that side, that's not full window.
right, they're half.
They're half.
Because they're like at a 5'2" or 5'8".
It's like we're looking at the other side.
I know. I remember, they're half on that side. All right, just thought. All right, go ahead. Sorry, Joe. I'm sorry to interrupt.
All right. So I'll try. I move that the Board of Zoning Appeals approve the variance request submitted on September 20th, 2022 by Mr. Matt Badrak on behalf of the owner for the construction of a new garage / accessory structure, which is in the R1 district dwelling district. As proposed, the structure would have a height of 19.11 and 11/16 with a maximum of 15 feet permitted by zoning ordinance. This garage would exceed the maximum height by 4 feet, 11/16 inches. To reach this decision, we have reviewed Matt Baca's memo dated October 17th. The applicant's application for hearing date is May 5th. The detailed review letter from McKenna dated September 30th, and the applicant's comments tonight. The property is currently adjacent to a church parking lot, so the neighbors are limited to only one east, one west. The primary house has one toilet. The owner who works out of his residence as an architect and raising the roof line would be able to add an office for him and a musical practice area for his son to the loft area of the new garage. The current ordinance height would not accommodate their need for additional headspace. The existing garage already has a gas line and vent pipe to accommodate a furnace. Additional bathroom in the loft area would be a safety issue for the clients and for the resident by eliminating the use of the bathroom in the main house. The variance is in harmony with and serves the intent of the purpose of the ordinance because the variance will not result in a substantial variation from the requirements of the ordinance. The variance will not result in increased population density. The variance will not adversely affect the government services or the character of the district. The proposed garage is in harmony with the construction of the type of the surrounding residences. The variance will result in substantial justice being done because the hardship suffered is, if a variance is not granted would be significant. The property in question is unusual in its location with only 2 side lot neighbors and no backyard neighbor, thus making the property truly unique. There are no other viable alternatives that would alleviate the hardship short of removing. Approval of this variance is subject to the following conditions. Additional installation will be added for sound deadening. No short-term rental or B&B type business will be conducted on the property. The garage will only contain heat, air, AC, and a water closet. The zoning board of appeals hereby grants the foregoing variance without prejudice or precedent in any future or similar appeals. That's my motion.
Could you go over the installation again?
I just put down additional installation will be added for sound deadening. Now, we could get more specific. But I know Pink Panther. I don't know.
To the
if the-
satisfaction of the administration.
Right.
To this, okay.
So you said water and equipment, right?
And their AC. Right? So the garage would contain heat, AC, and a water closet, which is a toilet. In my estimation, I don't know.
And the sink.
And you gotta have a sink.
I mean, so he has
Yeah.
a work sink down.
Yeah, you gotta have a sink. That's my,
Any other friendly amendments?
Sink on first floor and second floor.
okay.
I have a friendly amendment request. You said short-term Airbnb rental. I would throw in any rental, which would be no rental.
Well,
No dwelling space. Thank you.
No,
I've got it right here. I got no rental, no living space, no living in. I support the motion of Councilman Lucci. Okay, good. Mr. Burgess.
I'm not going to comment on the conditions per se. I think those are okay. I think that the practical difficulty finding is thin, but would be enhanced if there were a recognition that in the post-pandemic reality in which remote working spaces are required more and more, the additional space offered by the height variance promotes the minimization of that practical difficulty.
I very much agree with that sentiment. The one thing that I would be questioning is if we have that in there, if we get future appeals, they would understandably use that.
No precedence for anything other than what's going on right now.
Okay, so no one else can use that as precedence.
Situation by situation. This does not set precedent for a future.
All right, fair enough.
You accept that amendment? Mr.
I do.
Ritchie? Press support again. Support. All right, Mr. Kazicki, you want to do a quick roll call, please?
Councilmember Wood.
No.
Councilmember Conrad Wilbraham.
Yes.
Councilmember Ritchie.
yes.
Councilmember Donovan.
Yes.
Councilmember Zeroko.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Baloo.
Yes.
Mayor Terrence.
No.
Passes by.
Pass, yeah. Motion passes 5-2. Good luck. When do you start?
Spring.
Okay, thank you very much. Work with Vaca's office on the other items for administration. Thank you. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn as the zoning board of appeals and reconvene as the city council? Back support? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Reconvene now as the city council. Mr. Lewis. Nothing, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. Okay, sorry about anything. That's okay. Item 5, something distracted me. Consideration of a resolution adopting a policy on recording meetings. I guess I'll turn this over to Beth and or Neil.
Well, Mr. Alvin Schroeder was the one that actually did the verbiage for the resolution. Now, just to preface of what he has to say in his comments, in that we spent a considerable amount of time with the city administration, with our communications committee. We went over this at length. And I think we covered about every subject imaginable, and that's why we're prepared for any of your questions. But I'm going to, because the author of the actual resolution is Neil, I'm going to turn it over to him, and then I'm going to be around to obviously for some questions as well.
Neil?
That certainly gives me a little bit more credit. It's very much a labor of the whole committee. Derek also was a big part of this, and frankly doing some additional research about some other localities. This resolution is designed, we looked at cities throughout the South, here in Michigan, all over. The reason why we're doing a resolution is just to have an established policy for what we're doing with the streaming of meetings. In this case, all this resolution does is essentially say, we have an existing camera setup. We don't have the mics today, but in the future we will have mics, and that we can stream and record, stream the meetings online live. We can have a recording of it after the fact, and that those recordings can be displayed on our website so that folks have easy, ample access to the video of what happened over the course of a meeting, which frankly is extremely helpful for the experience that I've had is over COVID, we were able to easily record our meetings. And one of the learning sessions we have done on our water plan, a number of times residents have wanted to know, well, what are you guys doing on the water system? It was great to point back to, here's a council meeting. Not only are there minutes, but here's the council meeting of our working session, and you can view what the discussion that was had. So like I said, this resolution simply sets up a policy for dealing with that streaming, recording, and sets up how we'll go about doing it, making sure that the camera stays on the council and speakers. And this is really just a tool for public transparency.
But let me just add a couple of things what people need to know. We wanted to have our council meetings have more transparency and accessibility. And so we learned a lot, as Neil said, about the COVID. But I have to tell you that when council has closed sessions, this does not apply. So that's an important distinction. Another further distinction is that there will always be an announcement from probably our mayor or whoever is going to be running our council meetings that it's being recorded, so people know that they're out here. It is in full compliance with the Open Meetings Act as well.
Yeah, the important thing here too is that while this is an additional recording of the meeting, the record continues to be the minutes of the meeting. That is in compliance with the Open Meetings Act. And the other thing worth noting here is this is a one-way out stream of this. We're not having any interaction from the public on the internet. This is just a chance, much the way folks find it easy to view the school board meetings, same sort of thing. Comments aren't accepted via that way, and we're going to turn comments off in our YouTube channel when we put it there. This is just a record for folks, frankly.
All right, fantastic. Any questions from council on the resolution? Lev?
Yeah, I think, first of all, let me just say that I think this is very good. Thank you guys both for doing this. I have had personal experience in another board when I was in West Bloomfield. And back then, this was 15 or more years ago, there were actual real big cameras. Remember those big, huge cameras? They had 3 people, one there, and one right there. And, you know, it was a little bit intimidating in the beginning, but now I suspect that what we're talking about are these little tiny cameras that we're not even gonna be able to see, right? I mean, they're gonna be quite small.
Very inefficient.
Very,
They're
very-
literally there already.
Where?
That white dot behind you.
This one right here?
Yeah.
And the one down there.
Yeah.
See, you can't even hardly see it. So my personal experience with this was fine. Nobody grandstanded really, you know, when this happened, right? Which is a concern, a viable concern for people who are talking about having this or not. And it just didn't happen. I mean, people are like us. They're good people. They want to do the right thing, and they're not kind of grandstanding. So my sense is that this is a very good idea. Transparency is an excellent thing, and I applaud that both for doing. So we've already found out the number of cameras. Is there going to be any extra cost for this? For doing this, are we going to have a button on the website that takes people to YouTube, or who's going to be doing the hosting?
So a few things. In terms of additional costs, actually, it's in the thing. There's one of the things that's that is in the resolution is as long as there's no unreasonable taxpayer expense or technical support required for this. Frankly, part of the reason why we're doing this now is the courts needed to upgrade their video system and audio system. And so what we're doing is, and that was frankly why it took us so long, is we wanted to work in partnership with the city court to use the same technology and make sure that we could piggyback off that use. And so we're not adding additional cameras. We're using the cameras that are already here. We worked with them on the audio system to make sure that it would also work for our purposes. And so there won't be any additional expense when it comes to the camera technology. As far as the hosting is concerned, the plan is to use YouTube, which is currently free for our use. If that changes in the future, I'm sure future councils can revisit the question, because right now, again, we are saying that there's no unreasonable taxpayer expense, but we'll see where that goes.
Okay.
Right now, the idea is there are no additional costs associated with pursuing this.
And are you gonna have a button on the homepage or something like that? Or
Actually, the plan is, right now on the homepage, we have our council meeting minutes and agendas, and then minutes, and then we could also have a second link next to each meeting of here's the video for the meeting. It creates kind of a one-stop shop for people looking for information about any given meeting. You can post that up immediately after whatever the meeting, I think it's like the next day, we'll be able to do that. So it'll be there. It would also technically be available on the YouTube page as well if somebody wanted to view it there. And that's probably where the stream would live. We would have to talk and work with the administration on how we want to just make it easy for people to access the live stream. Frankly, the live stream is like a bonus. For me, the really important thing is creating a document that someone can refer back to about what happened in the meeting itself. But we would work with Derek and the rest of the administration on how to present the live stream.
Okay, great.
The live stream actually would be easier.
Yeah, we could probably just frankly put it on the council
Right,
page that it's
that's
there,
all,
you know, where the live stream is.
Yeah, I would
Which
recommend
person?
a very obvious button so that anybody, you know, can go and.
And we can say to somebody, oh, you can't make it to the meeting, just go to the council webpage on the website.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other comments? Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to thank council members Conrad, Robert, Daniel, Soroka, and Assistant City Manager Kazicki, job well done. Thank you. Ditto as well. Anybody else? All right, do I have a motion to adopt the resolution? Motion. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations, well done.
Good job.
Anybody want anything taken on the agenda item 6? So I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as proposed.
Motion.
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed to approve the consent agenda. Item 7, reports. See a report. Public safety. Yeah, that's attached, sorry. Other business, Mr. Reside.
Just wanted to really give council an update on some of our construction that's going on in town. I did include in the email a couple of weeks ago about the concrete shortage, which is real. It's impacting some of our projects. It's delayed some of our work along the seawall, emergency repairs. Clearly has delayed some of the road work on Fisher Road. We had 2 days scheduled for board last week that were canceled because the concrete was not available. Fortunately, they were able to secure it today, and they did pour today, the last block of Fisher Road. But it has impacted us, but we're still very optimistic that the work that is slated for this year will be completed. So just as an update on that. Otherwise, we do have some sidewalk that will be replaced also this year. That concrete order has been placed in advance, and that should be starting in the next week or so. And so that will be ongoing until really we can do it probably through most of December for the
Any other business left?
Lou, if it's appropriate, I'd like to give a shout out, I think a collective shout out to our state representative, Joe Tate. Everybody
Speaker
here, Mr. Speaker, everybody should know that our friend Joe was nominated or elected by his colleagues to be Speaker of the House, and that's terrific. And if you haven't met him, he's a great guy. And he's been a very good representative for us, so I think we should give him a shout out for that.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Fantastic, John. And another shout out along the same subject. Thank you to all our residents who voted, and thank you to our city staff. Really well done, Mr. Krasinski. I know you worked really hard. Job well done. All right, we knew who won on Tuesday. I'm still waiting. It's a week later. You did a hell of a job. Anybody else?
Yeah, I just wanted to, two things. Number one, Friday was Veterans Day, and I just want to thank all the veterans here and in the community for their service. It's an honor and privilege to be here, and part of it because of the people that serve. Also, this is Native American History Month, and it's important to note the Native communities and First Americans who were here before us in our steer code here today throughout our community. So I think it's helpful to think about them right now.
Thank you. Anybody else? I just want to say great job to our parks team all season, just closed. The new playscape was swamped with residents, and it looks spectacular. So great job by our parks team getting that up, and the team putting that all together. Really, wow, it's a great addition to the park. And I second everything else that was said about the great work for our administration on election day. And, you know, and I know, Matt, you're getting a lot of heat from folks on the streets and the sidewalks and everything else. And we're still planting trees. Trees will be coming in soon, but there's of course, a supply chain issue of getting the trees planted, labor issues. Exactly. The trees are there, we get labor issues. So, thank you, everybody. And everybody here at home, have a great Thanksgiving coming up. We are going to go, but before I go to public session, I am going to announce we are going to do a quick closed session on personnel matters. After the public session, we will not be reconvening as a city council after public comment, and we move to a closed session. So, all right, with that, anybody in the public wish to speak this evening? Sauer, give us your name and address, please.
Catherine Sauerbeer, 234 Provençal Road. A few years ago, I attended a presentation by a representative from the Nature Conservancy. And in the interest of full disclosure, I'm not on the bandwagon of the Nature Conservancy for all of their ideas. But at that meeting, one of the focuses was on stormwater management. And to me, stormwater management has fiscal implications because the larger the footprint of a house or a building gives us more stormwater, which then requires a larger drainage system, which then requires more of our tax money. So that may be an oversimplification, but I don't really think it is. And why this hit home with me was about a month ago, I was traveling down Ross, was going to turn onto Kercheval, and to my shock, I saw at a very small building lot, a house, I believe, being built. And it encompassed the entire area. And I thought, how can that be? And I know probably it is following all of the zoning ordinances. But I thought back to the stormwater management issue and the issue of the footprint of developments, whether they be private or commercial. And this is a perfect time to think about it, since the city is going through updating the master plan. And what I'm proposing is that, even though you don't need more work to do, but I would hope that council would perhaps look at zoning issue changes that would take into account a requirement for a green space percentage. There, I've done a little looking about, and there are many cities, even within Michigan, that require a percentage of green space in relation to the footprint, not necessarily the square footage of the building, but the footprint.
So I don't interrupt, Catherine. So I don't leave an impression that the house that's being built on Ross is covering, they're, even on that small lot, they're only allowed to build like 30%, I think, of.
35%.
35% of the lot, and then even then, the concrete can only encompass what, another 25 or 30%?
Depends on the front yard has a limit. The backyard, we do not have a green space requirement. in the front.
Exactly.
In the back.
Exactly.
But the front yard we do, but not the back.
Right.
Well, I'm proposing that you at least ponder the idea of a green space percentage requirement. And I don't want you to set up a committee. Committees last forever.
Well, we have the ordinance committee that Mr. Gooley
Well,
wonderfully chairs, and he can consider that in the ordinance change.
well, and that was part of my question too, because I don't know what the appropriate avenue would be. I'm in favor of task forces because you give them a definite proposal idea, and it goes away when the question is answered. But the timing is opportune now, and I just thought I would bring it forward.
No, it's good input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely, yeah, sure.
Catherine, thank you. Thank you for coming and talking about this. What you're referring to, I think, is maybe what we have all discussed is reducing the amount of impervious surfaces on lots, not only just homeowners lots, but also, you know, in public spaces and also for commercial. We've talked a little bit about parking. And how parking takes up a lot of space, and that's a hardscape, and that's just, you know, drainage right down into our sewers.
Exactly.
So we've talked about all of that, and I think it's an extremely good thing that you bring to us. And don't forget, we're doing you know, a big huge project right close by to your house. We're going to be doing our sewer separation, which is going to be taking
Exactly.
you know, sanitary. It's going to go down to the pump station, and then we're going to send stuff out to the lake from the little shelf on house that we're going to build. So it's timely, it's good, it's interesting that you're bringing this up. I congratulate you for doing that, and you know, I hope you can keep thinking about ways that we can maintain and manage stormwater on site, because this is really very, very important for us. Flooding issues are going to continue no matter what we do. You know, it's going to keep raining hard. We're going to try to mitigate that as best as possible with our sewer improvement project. But it's very good that you bring this up. Thank you.
Well, I mean, you can keep building bigger drainage systems, but if you allow Bigfoot houses like so many of the cities have done, you know, the footprint is still very large, and there has to be some delineation requirement on the percentage of green space. I mean, if you drive down Lakeshore, all the big homes, do they have any trees? I mean, I don't have all of the information. The Nature Conservancy certainly did, in terms of how much water root systems take up, and grass and everything else. And, you know, you look at the homes being built around now, it isn't just the square footage of the home, it's the footprint. And it's all the accessory things like you talked about today. even have parking lots in front of their house now. And I honestly don't understand that concept, but, you know, I'm not necessarily a tree hugger, but there has to be a good balance. So, thank you for
Thank you.
listening.
Thank you. Anybody else in the public? Oh, Mr. Thiel, come on up. Name and address, please.
Good morning, my name is Stephen Thiel, and my address is 474 Calvin, Grosse Pointe Farms. As you may remember, my house was raided on my birthday this year by the Sterling Heights Police because of information that was given to them by Mr. Hutchins. So the information was engaged in drug trafficking activities without any kind of evidence, nothing like that. So I am concerned about Mr. Hutchins for a number of reasons, being the police chief, or director of public safety. My wife obtained a PPO against Daniel Jensen Jr. He was the last police chief's son. And the incident that caused her to file for a personal protection order happened right outside this building, right in front of the police department. And Daniel Jensen Jr. was circling my wife's car, hurling insults at her and videotaping her in a harassing fashion. And the police department wouldn't come outside to help. And I have to think the reason they wouldn't come outside to help is because it was the police chief's son. And that police chief is gone now, but Mr. Hutchins is still here. And it was his decision to not send the officers outside. I mean, I asked for 5 or 6 minutes for them to come out. And it wasn't just that specific incident. You know, Daniel Jensen Jr., by the way, he appealed that personal protection order through a motion to terminate, and it was declined. So he was found guilty of harassing my wife out front of this building, essentially. And though I may have criminal charges being pressed against me right now by the city, I haven't been found guilty of anything, and he has been found guilty. And you know, there was multiple occasions that he continued to harass her out front of this building, and we repeatedly asked for help from the police department, and still multiple occasions they wouldn't come out to help us. And at the last council meeting, Mr. Burgess received a subpoena, a number of subpoenas, and I really hope that this council reviews the contents that were provided to us by order of subpoena, because the detectives are engaged in criminal activity. There's no two ways about it. One detective is coordinating with a civilian to find things they can charge me with for crimes. Maybe we can get him on this, maybe we can get him on that. And they're coordinating together to surreptitiously record my property, illegally eavesdropping. And when I bring that up in a police report, this detective emails him and tried to tip him off, like, hey, just making sure you've got it posted that you're recording audio. And the civilian responds, no, I don't, but maybe this will work. But I can't get anywhere near that. Might as well be on the bottom of the shoe, this notification, which implied consent doesn't apply when it comes to eavesdropping, by the way. So it doesn't matter if he has it posted or not, it's still illegal, and it's happening to this day. And it's hard for me to understand that there's so much communication regarding storm drainage, which I think is appropriate, by the way. You guys should be communicating, but I can't get any communication for 4 years now I've been coming here. And you know, this is getting old, but you know, I'm not leaving. I'm not moving out of Grosse Pointe. I've been here for 36 years. And even though the detective is trying to get me to move out, and he admits that in his emails, and hopefully we can get him to leave town, I'm not leaving. So I just want to make that clear. Hopefully you guys can tell Mr. Hutchins I won't be leaving, and we can at least stop that line of the attack. You know, I'm also concerned because I went to the Ford House over Halloween. They had a really nice exhibit. It's a beautiful property. It's a great steward of our community. However, the Grosse Pointe Farms Police were operating security at the Ford House, which is in a different municipality. It's over at 9 Mile-ish, 8.5, whatever, in Jefferson. And Grosse Pointe Farms police officers are there with Grosse Pointe Farms police vehicles running security for free, I would imagine, but maybe not for free. So I would like to see what was charged there. If I'm able to hire the Grosse Pointe Farms Police, or what the process is to get this kind of free security or paid security or whatever. But, you know, it's literally the richest person in our community, the wealthiest person in our community, the least needing of free security services. And I wonder who pays if the officers are equipped as the vehicles drive by. We're self-insured. So this is, maybe these are the reasons that the CAFR numbers are going in the wrong directions in terms of the retirement health plan. You know, and I don't know who suggested that Daniel Jensen Jr. or Senior be a new position or apply for a new position of police commissioner. But I mean, he's right here thumbing his nose at the whole council, repeating how he appreciates, you know, the support as he's going in and out of the authorized personnel only doors and telling you he's authorized essentially. And, you know, Mr. Hutchins just listens and allows him to do it, disrespecting you guys as he's asking for a position that is, non-critical position. Only two of the other Grosse Pointes, I believe, have a police commissioner. So that brings me to my final issue. I'm a mechanical contractor. I own a heating and cooling boiler installation company, 15 years now. And I've been dealing with Fred, the mechanical inspector, for years. And, you know, with this combined issue with the police being involved, it's just, you know, more than I can take. So I'm here to explain, you know, what Fred's hustle is. So I'm glad to hear that the city consultants were coming up with new policies and procedures for the building department, et cetera. But I want to make you aware of a current problem. So the contracts that Fred has had with Grosse Pointe City and Grosse Pointe Farms has some kind of a split on the original permit fee. They split it 50-50 in Grosse Pointe City. But then the reinspection fee, Fred keeps the whole thing. So, you know, the net result there is Fred is heavily incentivized to come up with reinspection fees and fake violations, because it literally triples his income with Grosse Pointe Farms. Grosse Pointe City was aware of it. He was told to stop doing that for about 3 or 4 years that I was aware of. And I finally just gave up on it because it's easier to pay him $75, which really is a bribe, because half the time he doesn't come into the properties. And I'll say it was a bribe because my Grosse Pointe City job, it was actually Dickinson Wright attorney, and he didn't even come inside. Didn't come inside the building whatsoever. He just showed up, handed me the green sticker, and drove away. And it really put me in an awkward position, as well as the Dickinson Wright attorney in an awkward position, because we just watched a crime happen. And, you know, I mean, I want to keep operating in this community. That's why I haven't really spoken up too heavily for too long. But, you know, someone's got to do something about a number of these issues. And, you know, I'd rather not come here. I'd rather just do other stuff on Monday nights once a month. But I feel like I'm gonna have to come here just pointing all this stuff out for the rest of my life, because it's so flagrant. I mean, just advertising this at the Ford House, and then you know, I try to appeal this inspection with Fred, and I'll let you guys go. But when I try to appeal with Fred, and Matt is trying to conceal the fact we don't have a board of appeals for permits. So now I'm getting dragged out for months on a job because Matt doesn't do his job and make sure there's a board of appeals. I mean, you guys picked him up from Birmingham. It's a totally different position, and it appears as though he doesn't know how to, you know, act, fit for purpose in this position. So hopefully you guys will take a look at the stuff I've said, and I'll be back next month. Thank you.
Anybody else in the public? All right, this meeting is adjourned, and we'll convene for a closed session. So thank you, everybody, and have a great Thanksgiving. Closed session for personnel matters on the record.